Welcome to my kitchen.
Hi, welcome to Chili's.
I don't know, I just felt like doing something different and the lighting looks so nice today. I haven't done a predictions video, like a 5-star predictions video, since I first started my channel, probably like a year and a half ago at least. And I don't even think I finished all of those predictions, but it's fine. We are live, laugh, loving and re-predicting as our taste has grown, okay? And to avoid that happening again, I wanted to choose some books that I knew, like for sure, I absolutely plan to read this year. Either they're like literally already in TBRs or projects or so high on my list that I would feel so silly if I got to the end of the year and like hadn't read these. It's a handful of sci-fi, a large handful of fantasy, and a couple miscellaneous, like contemporary historical. And it's just 10. It's just 10. I really could have kept going and pulling things off my shelf, but I want to set up for success and only worry about 10 predictions for the rest of the year, because even these 10, that means I would have to read like 1 or 2 of these every single month to read them all by the end of the year. And that seems like plenty. That seems like plenty of expectations for myself. It's also fun just to like stand. I feel like I have so much room for activities filming like this. Okay, I'm just in a silly, goofy mood today, so buckle up for that, I guess. All right, we're just gonna start. I have them here on my kitchen counter. Bone apple teeth, these fine tomes. What am I talking about? Okay, first on the list, first tippy top of the sci-fi pile, we have The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. First of all, 5-star cover already, which may slightly sway my predictions, but let's be honest, we all judge all the books by all the covers, and we don't need to lie about it. But I do genuinely, obviously, think that I would give this 5 stars because it's a YA climate crisis dystopian about 2 sisters who are like estranged from each other, trying to find their way back to each other. And all I really know is that one, my friend Annie McNulty loves this book, and I trust her sci-fi opinions so much. Their channel name is Annie's Book Nook now, so Annie's Book Nook strongly recommended this so much that it's a solid 5-star prediction. I think there is like a survival isolated setting trope for one of the sisters, like wakes up on a deserted island and is like, who am I? How did I get here? What am I doing here? The other sister is like working in some kind of STEM field in like a more metropolis kind of a setting.
Metropolis? City setting. Urban? Urban.
I'm completely fine knowing only that, because all of those things, like sister drama, family searching each other, dystopian climate, sci-fi, women in STEM, that's like checking all the boxes, so I'm sure that I will love this. Okay, the next one from my sci-fi pile may or may not actually be sci-fi, but this is Matrix by Lauren Groff. I think it's actually more historical, except that it's called Matrix, and it makes me think of The Matrix. So I don't know. Whether it's historical or sci-fi, who knows, because the actual like inside flap is so brief. It's like the tiniest, vaguest paragraph. Matrix gathers currents of violence, sensuality, and religious ecstasy in a mesmerizing portrait of consuming passion, aberrant faith, and a woman whom history moves both through and around. I don't know. The quote here, this is like a quote from somewhere in the book. Quote, "She rides out of the forest alone, 17 years old, in the cold March drizzle, Marie who comes from France." I don't know. But this is so highly acclaimed. Lauren Groff is such an anticipated author for me, and if I enjoy this, I can't wait to go read Fates and Furies, which also has like a glowing reviews. I was really surprised that this didn't make any of the lists for Women's Prize this year, but we'll see. I'm gonna read it. probably give it 5 stars. Who knows? That's what I'm feeling, obviously, because we are here. Sci-fi or historical? I don't know, but I think I'm gonna like it. Okay, the next one, I have been procrastinating reading this because if I don't like it, I will be heartbroken. Because this is Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton, which actually Jayla got me for our little bookish Secret Santa last year after I accidentally bought myself the sequel very impulsively. This, I said before in one of my past videos that it's like if you asked an AI to write a novel specifically for me, like this sounds like what it would create. Because this is dystopian satirical science fiction told from the point of view of a funny, dirty-mouthed, domesticated crow and his dog sidekick. Like, just sit with that for a second. That specifically was written for me. I'm convinced that Kira Jane Buxton is actually just an AI and we're all living in a simulation, and I have found this book and now I'm scared to read it because what if I hate it? I'm gonna question everything if I hate this book. Like, let me read you the top blurb because this sounds like so good and so specific to my taste. This says, it's an adventure lit by strange myths, brand names, television and smartphone screens, a fable with teeth and claws about animals making new lives amongst the ruins of humanity. ST, the irrepressible cursing crow, is my new favorite apocalyptic hero, which is blurbed by Helen MacDonald, the New York Times bestselling author of H is for Hawk, which I'm currently reading right now. It's literally on my currently reading shelf. So, what does this remind you of? Hawk and crow? I'll give you a second. My arms, a hawk and a crow. Like, hello? Hello, okay. It's just a little bit on the nose, don't you think? So it feels way too specific, and I'm really, really scared, but very, very excited to read this and the sequel. I think it's a duology. It might be a trilogy and the third one hasn't come out, but either I'm going to love it and create a completely new personality based on these books, or I'm gonna have a little bit of an identity crisis. But regardless, that will be a fun adventure. Okay, now we are on to the fantasy stack. And I have 4 fantasy books, beginning with In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. I literally just picked this up maybe a week ago when Wes and I went on a little afternoon date. We went to Barnes & Noble and we went to lunch and we just kind of had like a good little day shopping around, and I bought a few books. He bought a book which was like
pretty sexy, I'm gonna be honest.
And we also recently binged Our Flag Means Death together, and we both are obsessed and loved it, and I want to rewatch the show with him again because like it was so much fun and I can't get enough of queer pirates. So guess what? I went into Barnes & Noble and saw this, which first of all, another 5-star stunning cover that someone dedicated their entire graphic arts degree to. Pirates and Princes, Magic and Mayhem. This book has it all, which, sign me up. Like, all you needed to say is gay pirates and magic, and I'm there. That's easy. That's just nothing but that. Like, that's an easy 5-star prediction. And it's YA, so there's not too many words on the page. I think this would be like a quick, one-sitting, fluffy, good-ass time kind of a read. Next on the list is N.K. Jemisin, because what would a 5-star predictions video be from me without any N.K. Jemisin? I could have made a whole video just on her books that I have that I think I'll give 5 stars and haven't read yet. But I chose for this video The Obelisk Gate because I think this will be the next of hers that I read. Because I'm trying to get through this series so that I could start her other series that I also have. It's fine. This is the second in the Broken Earth trilogy after the 5th season, which was just a freaking brain-breaking fantasy sci-fi book. Sci-fi fantasy, I guess. And I still cannot put into words really how to explain the 5th season, and I think if you know that you like sci-fi fantasy, just go into it without knowing like anything. That's part of the journey and the joy and genius of that book, I think. And The Obelisk Gate is the second in the trilogy. I know nothing except where the first book ends. And I will happily go into it knowing nothing else except picking up where we leave off, presumably. And that is quite enough for me. The 5th season just vastly raised the bar for what I expect from something from this genre, like the sci-fi fantasy blended genre. And it was immaculate, perfection, stunning. I already want to reread the 5th season. Like maybe I'll reread the 5th season before this and try and like marathon the trilogy. That might actually be fun, but I don't know, getting ahead of myself, but am very, very excited to be back in this world and back in N.K. Jemisin's beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous brain, because this is a work of art, I think, probably. Well, like actually objectively, like this entire series won very prestigious awards, including the Hugo Award. So it objectively is a great work of art, and I can't wait to read it myself. Next on the list, the girlies will be very excited about this one. I picked up The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang recently, the same Barnes & Noble trip where I got In Deeper Waters. This is, if you don't know, a grimdark fantasy slash like military fantasy that focuses on like reimagined real historical events in China, and I know that it's really gritty and dark and has like a whole collection of content warnings. A couple of my friends recently did a read-along for this series as part of their book club fantasy series, which I will link below if you're interested in reading fantasy series in a book club setting. I had every intention of reading it with them, and those 3 months just came and went. Dude, I can't believe that passed me by. But it's fine, better late than never, and I think, just like everyone else, I think that I'm going to love The Poppy War. A lot of times the hype like that will really scare me off or make me nervous, but for some reason, just hearing people talk about The Poppy War and the way they talk about it and the emotions and care and respect that people seem to have for this book and the writing makes me so excited and hopeful, even more so, that I will really enjoy it. And the paperback version does not look as gigantic as like a lot of the hardback versions do. So I'm significantly less intimidated seeing this in paperback. So it's a win-win all around, and I'm hoping to get to this very, very soon because the FOMO is eating me alive. So that's The Poppy War. Last on my fantasy stack is none other than Fevered Star. I think it's Between Earth and Sky is the series name. Black Sun was the first. Black Sun was like one of the best books I read last year. Maybe the best fantasy I read last year. Either that or Amari and the Night Brothers. They are probably neck and neck. I don't remember what I put as my top in my best books of the year video, which I have, and Amari and Black Sun were both really high on the list, which reminds me, there's a new book in Amari coming out too. So that's probably a bonus on this list, but we're talking about Fevered Star. I know a lot of people have an issue with this cover. I don't. I think it's perfectly fine, but it does remind me, now that someone said it and I can't unsee it, it reminds me of the Teletubby Sunshine Baby a little bit, which is, I think, is just endearing and funny, and I don't find it to be an ugly cover. I like genuinely do not hate this cover, so whatever. The haters can hate, I guess. Gosh, Black Sun is such a fresh and exciting and unique like fantasy setting and fantasy world and plot and everything. It's so diverse. It is so wonderful and well thought out. It has all my favorite things. The first book, Black Sun, it has pirates, it has badass women in positions of power. It has queer characters, some of which use neo-pronouns. It has complex allies and rivalries. It has a strong thread of religion and corruption, multiple different strains of belief and faith and religion, family and loyalty, and all of those things intersecting, plus magic, plus the world. If you haven't read Black Sun, literally what are you doing? This was why we went to Barnes & Noble last week. Because I wanted Fevered Star. So now I have it in my grubby little hands. And we'll hopefully be giving it 5 stars. And if I don't, I will be very sad. But I have very high hopes, once again. This is really a stream of consciousness kind of video, but we're just going with it. We're just riding the wave. The last 3 are like miscellaneous extras. Basically everything that's not sci-fi fantasy. That's it, that's the catch-all. Starting with Self-Care by Lee Stein, which is a pretty short, tiny, cute, pink little novel. And this has to do with kind of a commentary on like influencer culture and how the idea of self-care became very consumerist. This sounds like it's going to be like part a scathing critique of the industry and 2 really funny and satirical, which, hello, what a perfect marriage. Those are my 2 favorite things. So I think that I'm going to really get a laugh out of this, and at the same time going to really scratch that intellectual itch in my brain, which is like, what more could we ask for? So that's all I really want. Not more to be said. Then next I have Transcendent Kingdom by Yagazi, which I have been wanting to read Yagazi for so long, either Homegoing or Transcendent Kingdom, and now that I own this and it's also shorter than I anticipated, I think I'm going to pick this up pretty soon because it's just really calling out to me, not to be super woo-woo. It's about this woman who is a PhD candidate for neuroscience and has such faith in science, and then her brother overdoses on Oxycontin and she spirals into this cycle of grief and also dealing with her mother and her family in the wake of all of this, and is a story about science and faith and, you know, growing up raised in a religious faith and then pursuing a life in STEM and trying to marry those things together while also balancing family and love and grief in the mix as well, which is like, whew, I think this is gonna probably hit me over the head, but in the absolute best way, and I'm very, very excited, and I cannot see myself giving this less than 5 stars, but we shall see. Very last on my predictions for the year, 5-star predictions, is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, and I happened to come across a copy of the beautiful UK cover from my local used bookstore. Thank you, Christy. For some reason, I just really like this cover a lot more than like the US version. So we scored. Basically, there is a myth that Shakespeare wrote Hamlet inspired by the death of his son Hamnet, like a few years after his son's death, and that's what pushed him to write Hamlet. I don't know enough about Shakespeare or the lore or history to actually give any credit or airtime to that theory. However, this book is the like historical fiction version of that family, and Hamnet and his twin sister, Hamnet, his twin sister, and their parents, one of which is a famous playwright, which is so funny that the word Shakespeare is actually nowhere on this entire book. It just says, Hamnet is a novel inspired by the son of a famous playwright. It's a story of the bond between twins and of a marriage pushed to the brink by grief. I've heard glowing reviews. I know that this was either shortlisted for or won the Women's Prize the last couple of years. I think it won 2 years ago. It sounds amazing. And therefore, here it is, wrapping up my 5-star predictions list. Look at this neat little stack. Wow. Neat little stack of hopefully books that I absolutely adore, and I'm very, very eager and excited. Now that I just gushed about them for like 30 minutes straight, I want to read them all even more than before. So that's happening ASAP Rocky. Thank you so much for watching this chaotic byeeee predictions video. Have you read any of these? Slash, where should I start? Or what should I prioritize? What are your thoughts, poetry, concerns, questions, smoke signals, etc.? If you did make it to the end of this video, leave me the coffee cup emoji just to let me know that you had a good time and hung out with me this whole video. I'd really appreciate it. And like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already and you want to see more of me. It really helps me out, and then we can be besties talking about books in our kitchens any time of the week, any day you like. I will be here in the square on the internet talking about books. If you want even more from me outside of the square, you could follow me over on Instagram at Noelle7pages, and we can be buddies. It's a good time. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you are well, and I will talk to you very soon. Love you, bye.